Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Special Meeting. Today is April 3rd, 2024. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's a little late, but it's 6:27 p.m. And we have and I'm going to ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. How about that? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, Maureen, how about a roll call, please?
Okay. June Daly,
Here.
Andrew Lou Millard,
Here.
Diane Jorsey,
Here.
Timothy Zigmont.
Here.
Brian Rogan will not be here. Joan Veely,
Here.
Scott Hamill,
Present.
Mike Pastuzik.
Present.
I didn't do it right. John Dyken
I'm here.
and Steve Biella Jr. asked to be excused.
Yes.
Passion.
Mike.
Passion.
Oh. I'm just calling Big Mike.
Pastor.
Passion.
I want to say pasta.
Yeah.
Like posture.
Yeah.
Passion.
Killing from office. We got it right.
Pasta.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone have a motion? Okay.
Okay, can we just check, Brian, can you confirm you can hear us and see everybody?
Yes.
Thank you. All right,
Stephen Jenner.
Brian, like what you see?
well, if they can
can.
see, then they can. If the speakers are working, then it's
We
on
can
their
hear
end,
you.
they can't. Thank you.
All
Okay.
right. Seeing that this is a special meeting, we have our attorney with us. I guess I'll turn this over to Paula. So, principally, what we're here to do tonight is to review the stipulated judgment, proposed stipulated judgment for the pending administrative appeal of 555 Berlin Turnpike Associates LLC versus the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission and the Town of Berlin, docket number HHD PB 23-617-450-S. And it concerns three parcels of property, 502 Berlin Turnpike, on which there will be a commercial use proposed. 522 Berlin Turnpike, for which housing is being proposed, and then 550, 554. I've seen it referred to as 550, 554, and then in your town records just as 554, which currently has building supplies, ABC building supply. So just a couple of procedural matters. Our practice book, our rules of practice in the state of Connecticut require that when you settle a zoning administrative appeal, that the matter appear on an agenda of the commission to receive public comment on the settlement. And that's the only requirement, that it appear, and also that obviously you render a decision. Your decision follows the usual course of, you give reasons for your decision gets published in the newspaper, and then we have the added, and this is statutory, but we have added requirement that the settlement does get reviewed by the court. And that's pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 8-8N. So that'll be the next step. And I know some of you who are seasoned have gone through the settlement process before, but for our purposes tonight, what we're going to do is we'll go through the stipulated judgment, and we'll talk about, the particulars of the settlement plan. And we do have the applicant's team here with us. We have, Attorney Tim Sullivan is present, for the plaintiff, which is 554 Berlin Turnpike Associates LLC. And we have Jeff Janke, who's the architect, Steve Judice, who is the engineer, and Brian Miller, who is the planning consultant who prepared the affordable housing plan on this application. So, or the affordability. So I'm gonna just take you through briefly the stipulation for judgment. Then we'll have Attorney Sullivan have an opportunity to address you as well. And he, I'm sure, will call upon, again, the consultants to maybe make a few comments about their contribution. But we'll get through this pretty because I know that you're familiar, and ultimately what the settlement plan is not that much different than the plan that you denied. And we're going to talk about where those differences lie. So just in terms of stipulation, so a retail use again was proposed for, and this is in paragraph 1 on the first page of the stipulated judgment. The retail use was proposed for 502 Berlin Turnpike, and an existing building supply commercial use is to be updated at 554 Berlin Turnpike, and then in the original application, that's the subject of the denial. In the court case, there was 106 unit housing development consisting of a total of 84 one-bedroom units and 22 two-bedroom units across 2 4-story buildings and 1 3-story building, and that was proposed for 532 Berlin Turnpike. After the appeal was commenced, the plaintiff applicant did file affordable housing applications with the commission, both to create a new regulation entitled Berlin Turnpike Multifamily Workforce Housing Development, and then an application for site plan approval to permit 158 unit housing development to be constructed at 522. So going again from 106 units to 158 units consisting of 78 one-bedroom units and 82 bedroom units and 2 9-story buildings. And then for site plan amendment approval for the ABC property at 554 Berlin Turnpike. So again, we see those differences between what was originally proposed, the affordable, and now we're going to talk about what's proposed in settlement. I'm not going to talk about the general terms. A lot of that is sort of boilerplate. Obviously, the plaintiff is agreeing to comply with all laws, you know, federal, state, local codes, regulations, ordinances, all. All right. What the settlement's intended to do is to recite the agreement from the zoning perspective. You know, they have to go back to wetlands. They have a prior approval from the wetlands from 5 to 502 for that small commercial piece that needs a new approval. They also have an approval from wetlands for the housing parcel for 522 that needs a modification because the plan is changing. So they'll be doing that. So they'll, you know, don't have any concerns that, you know, they're not going to take care of that with their article 2. So in terms of the settlement plan, just jumping to page 3, and this is paragraph 5B of the stipulation. As we had with the last settlement that we did for little houses, what this is contemplating, it's not that they come back to you with another full site plan set, because you've seen that. They're very far along in their settlement plan. At your last meeting, you got an updated plan set. So that's really not necessary. So we have, as we offered with little houses, we have the final plan set to be reviewed and signed off on by your town planner and of course other town officials and employees. Such as, for example, your town engineer will take a look and make sure everything's in order from an engineering standpoint. But in terms of the general terms, the general terms and conditions section, A is very important. It does describe, again, the changes in bulk So this is, again, is on page 3 of the stipulation. It says 2 residential buildings, residential buildings are to be constructed upon, upon the real property at 522, that's why it's always a drop. 522 Berlin Turnpike, building 1. And, shall be 3 stories in height, not to exceed 57 feet to ridge and peak of roof, and shall contain a total of 66 residential housing units consisting of 51 one-bedroom units and 12 two-bedroom units, with 7 of said units, 6 one-bedroom units and 1 two-bedroom unit being ADA compliant. That's important. Building 2 shall be 4 stories in height, and it also will not exceed 57 feet to ridge and peak of roof, and shall contain a total of 39 units. So building 1, 66 units, building 2, 39 units, so there's a total of 105. So they're actually dropping unit from the application that was denied by the commission. And that 39 unit for building 2 is going to consist of 31 one-bedroom units and 8 two-bedroom units with 4 3 one-bedroom and 1 two-bedroom unit of said units being ADA compliant. And then there's going to be two that are going to be type A accessible. And that's pursuant to code, and the building official looks at that and signing off on it. So in compliance with the regulations, the plaintiff has agreed to 100% of the total residential housing units or 21 housing units are going to be deemed restricted as affordable housing as defined by 830G, affordable housing statute, calculated at 80% of the median income applicable to the town of Berlin for a period of 50 years. So they have agreed to do more than what the statute requires. The statute requires at least 4 years. They're agreeing to 50 years on the affordability program. And in terms of the distribution of the affordable housing units among the available unit types that we have here, 11 are 1-bedroom and 10 are going to be 2-bedroom. And then, there's some additional questions regarding the filing of deed restrictions and so on and so forth. And that all, the affordability plan, it all gets reviewed by staff and myself to make sure that everything is in order. So we did get a new draft with both in it, but we've got to do some fine tuning to the affordability plan, and we will do that before it gets attached to the stipulation to be filed with the court. So the next provision that we have is in subsection C, and this is on page 4, and it talks about approval by the town planner subject to her discretion of all architectural landscape and streetscape material design standards, lighting and signage will be required. Now, the commission has considered a number of these matters already. You saw new architecturals, you had quite a bit of input. You were given options by the architect about, the designs, what you preferred, and what we see in the final architecturals had your input to it. So, but just generally speaking, the building materials should, and this is something that's in your regs. So the architecturals are going to be attached as exhibit C to the stipulation, but the building materials should be selected to the basis of quality, durability, permanence, and shall be economically maintained and able to continue or appearance over time, as depicted in the attached renderings. The overall architecture will be modern New England style with fenestration, pitched roofs, muted New England color palette, and outdoor spaces and balconies. Okay, and that's something we all saw. As far as landscape and streetscape, you will review the site layout and the landscape plan, bring the county entrance road plan, including, and this is important, enhanced landscape buffer screening that existed behind the screening from the AEC, so the existing commercial building from the residential state. Okay. As far as lighting, you reviewed a photometric plan. It's intended to provide adequate lighting and in consideration of the constraints of the existing, because there's obviously the electric transmission easement traversing the property. So, it was prepared with consideration of that easement. As far as signage is concerned, any and all signage is subject to separate permitting, and, this includes zoning review and compliance with all applicable regulations. This next paragraph, D, talks about what I said at the beginning about needing to go back to wetlands, that they have to get a new permit for 502, they've got to get a modified permit for 522. And then there's a botany provision at subsection E there, the project is deposed in erosion control bond and a site bond, the amounts to be determined by staff in accordance, of course, with provisions of the zoning regulations and the general statute. These are all limitations on the statutes. And then this was something that was very important to you, and this is one thing that I really want you to take a close look at and think about tonight. The permitted and restricted uses, you wanted to have a provision in there that normal housing is going to be built. So this is the language that we have at this point. And this is in 2A at the bottom of page 5. All units within 2 residential buildings to be constructed at 522 Berlin Turnpike as described, paragraph 5B1A, shall be used for housing only. The parties specifically agree that no additional housing units shall be constructed on 522 Berlin Turnpike, and no housing shall be constructed at 502 Berlin Turnpike or at 550, 554 Berlin. A use restriction to such effects shall be reported on the Berlin land record for each property which binds all successors and signs. Said use restriction shall contain, and Attorney Sullivan made this point, and it's a good one. An exception which shall allow the town of Berlin agency with authority to extinguish said restriction in the future. So, you know, if at some point in the future, you know, there's a desire to extinguish that restriction from the town standpoint, then, you know, there'll be the opportunity to do that by the agency who has that authority. It may not always be the agency, so, you know, kind of left it broad there. So in terms of amenities, we wanted to make sure that we called out in the plan again, because we want interested members of the public to know this. If anybody participating in the negotiated hearing, the public has an opportunity to do that. And I'll talk about that just shortly. But the plaintiff is committed, this is B, top of page 6. Plaintiff is committed to providing amenities which will enhance the quality of life of residents at 522 Berlin Turnpike. Such amenities shall include but not be limited to indoor and outdoor gathering and recreational areas, including a community room in each building with an atrium in building number 1, patio and grill picnic areas, security features, and we call out locked access to residential units and the use of security cameras, call boxes, and lighting. Right, all these things we talked about, they were important to the commission. They are incorporated into the plan. And C and D, very important. Any proposed use of a commercial property at 502 Berlin Turnpike, so the small property at the front, shall be subject to the approval of the commission and must not impair the residential use at 522 Berlin Turnpike or the commercial use at 550 Berlin Turnpike. And then D, any change in use of the commercial property at 550, 554 Berlin Turnpike presently a focus supply business shall be subject to the approval of the commission and must not impair the residential use at 522 Berlin Turnpike or the commercial use at 550 Berlin Turnpike. Parking, that paragraph just calls out 172 spaces, no less than, and includes a parking area reserved for any future public trail access, but they do have that marked off, those spaces. I think there's 7 in the. So as far as stormwater management, we do need to just discuss that with the town engineer, make sure he's satisfied with what's in the plan set, and does not desire, because you know, I've moved towards, and I've explained this to you just in my own recommendations that I make. We do a lot of separate plans now, so that there's another document that's incorporated into the plan. But there is quite a bit of information as far as maintenance and so forth within the plan already. We need to make sure that the town engineer is satisfied with all of that. We may do the second one, so that's why that provision is in there. We may end up taking that out, so I am going to ask you for authority to make changes. Would you do your motion to approve that you desire to do so tonight? I'll make that recommendation to you, but, and we also, this was something that we've done a little different here, that, you know, the concern about the maintenance of the property, we're doing this more and more, right? Because things are not kept up well, we're finding, so we've got this maintenance provision that the planner shall maintain all structures and the lawns and landscaping inside the property, the standards set by the ordinances and zoning regulations of the town. Because you've got maintenance standards that are in the regulations and the ordinances. So they're going to keep grass, weeds, all plantings, need tidy appearance, so that they're cut at least twice a month. I use this language. I found it to be sufficient and adequate. If you want to change, you can, but they're cut at least twice a month during the months of April, including October, because we know, things start to die off in November, right? All plantings are kept trimmed appropriately such that landscape areas are defined and overgrowth is controlled. We like to find areas where our things just, and all waste is removed. And then, and this is a big one. All impervious surfaces shall be maintained in good repair, because we see a lot of impervious surfaces that are not being maintained. It's not like it's right. So that's what I mean. Want to make sure everybody understands. Want things to remain nice. Sorry. And then, of course, the time frame for completion of site improvements, that's dictated by statute and not, that's appropriately stated. And, you know, in the event that there's automatic expiration, then a new site plan has to be submitted and the way. The other remaining provisions, we've got in the event that it's necessary for any party to file a motion to enforce any condition stipulations, said party shall be entitled to cover all costs in connection with enforcement, including reasonable attorney's fees. But in terms of your pending affordable housing applications following entry of judgment, those are going to be withdrawn by the plaintiff. Okay, so let's talk about that really quick. Again, if you approve this, next step is we got to report to the court that we've got an agreement, and we're going to finalize everything and get it filed with the court. And the court is going to give us an 8-800 statute. So statute 8-8. It's going to give us a hearing date, and a judge reviews everything and have hearing. And the judge determines whether or not to enter the stipulated judgment as a judgment of the court. Okay, very important line. If the judgment of the court can enforce on both sides. Right, we want that. One word or one judgment of the court rather than just, selling the agreements off. It's a better way. So the court maintains continuing jurisdiction, but notice of that hearing published in the newspaper. The current desire of the court is 2 weeks in advance of the hearing. And the public gets to participate. They're doing the hearings remotely. We put the email address, telephone number for the clerk, then docket in the actual notice, and they call. Or if they want to participate, we should send something like it gets closer to the team. So that's what's done. I say all that just so anybody going back watching this video understands. If they want to talk to the court about this in the judgment, they have a chance to. That's part of the process, not just to come here and comment, but they can go directly to the judge, which I think is great. I've always thought that was good. So they withdraw their applications following entry of judgment by the court. And then we also record the stipulated records so that, again, successors in the science, they know what it is. Right? So that's all I'm going to cover. Everything else is kind of, I'll say boilerplate, if you will. I'm going to turn it over to Tim. If Tim has any comments, if he wants to have any of these folks say anything, go ahead. So maybe you want to come
Thanks, Jim. Let's,
here. Or just kind of where you're picked up. I could step away.
No, that's fine. I'm not sure. Good evening. Jim, just to touch on something briefly, we just talked about the stormwater management plan. Engineering late in the day provided Maureen with comments, and they were all housekeeping comments that could be, I think he said they could be handled
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So, Mike did look through the stipulation plans today. And I'll just read the first paragraph quickly. I conducted a limited review of the revised plans dated March 6, 2024, as well as several available memos of previous comments and responses. It is noted that WMC engineers conducted the in-depth peer reviews of previous plan sets and engineering reports in 2022 and early 2023. So our department does not have full background history on the revisions and rationale for the same. It appears most of the technical comments made by WMC engineers were either addressed by revisions to the drawings or via responses by the applicant. In general, we take no exception to the latest plan set. The comments below are technical in nature and can be resolved with staff as conditions of approval via minor plan revisions. So that's basically the takeaway. And then he gives a couple of bullets on storm piping diameters, comments on the thickness of the bituminous pavement and sanitary lateral dimensions. So these are all very much things that can be handled during permitting if the commission sees fit.
Thanks, Norman. Once again, good evening, Tim Solomon on behalf of 550 to 554 Berlin Turnpike Associates, the owner of 502, 522, and 554 Berlin Turnpike. With me tonight, as Maureen has indicated, Jeff Jahnke, who's appeared before the commission in the last few months, Brian Miller and Steve Judas. Brian Miller recently filed an affordable housing plan that Jen and Maureen have reviewed as well, that incorporates the stipulated judgment provisions. My client's proposal is to develop properties under the town's Berlin Turnpike Development Zone. 502 Berlin Turnpike is retail, 522 is residential, and 554 is commercial. This is going to be brief. I'm just trying to summarize what we talked about a couple of years ago. We are here tonight because my client appealed the commission's denial of the proposal, and Judge Henry Cohn, during a mediation session on November 2nd in Superior Court, directed the commission and my client to attempt to negotiate a settlement. He said in reviewing this, and we had a long mediation session with him, and both sides caught his. He says there appear to be options to facilitate a settlement. And that's what we've been trying to do, working with the commission since November 2nd, to try to do some revisions that would make this palatable to the commission. Since that time, like I said, work with the commission, try to address the commission's concerns. And I believe all of these are referenced in the stipulated judgment and incorporated with the judgment. During the public hearings for the application and subsequent executive sessions, during the mediation session, my client addressed the commission's concern regarding the appearance of the residential proposal, safety concerns, amenities, improvements to the EPC property, protection of the retail proposal, and additional screening and landscaping. And you know, Steve Judas is available to answer any questions that you may have regarding some of these. For instance, say we had the deceleration and acceleration lane. We proposed some options for a bus stop shelter, 2 options. We inserted some speed bumps in front of the apartment complexes. We provided the driveway access to 30 feet, which is town road. We added a rotary, and Bart provided turn radius information for the trucks and buses. We moved the sidewalk to the south to the north side of the property, so there would be no crossover with the ABC driveway. Enhance the lighting for amenities, and I'll let Jeff address some of these. But we added the atrium, which I think is significant. Changes to the appearance of the building. We covered patio. We had benches, exercise station, bike racks, a dog park, drilling, trail access. Jeff, why don't you just briefly, if you would, just review the changes to the outside of the building. We wanted to have a quality structure, and I think with the siding and the metal roof, for some of those significant changes.
Sure. Do you want me to share my screen, or do you want me to just run through it? I think I'm assuming everybody here has seen this a number of times, but I'm happy to share the screen if you'd like.
to see.
I think it's
Okay.
a good idea to
Yeah.
share the screen and then it's on the recording as well.
Great.
But then you can show also where the metal roof and the shingled roof, you know, the hybrid roof.
Okay, are people seeing this?
Yes.
Okay. So first off, the materials that we're proposing are brick on the base, and cement fiber siding product. The horizontal lines are a clapboard, would look similar to horizontal wood clapboard that you'd see on a typical house or other residential type of structure in New England. The vertical panels are also cement fiber boards. The intent was to let that have a look that's sort of like a barn, and again, New England vernacular type of style. We know these are big buildings, so we're trying to break up the massing by having some recesses, which is where our egress stairs are, letting those be transparent so that one, I think visually it breaks the building on the front facades up, and I think it also adds a safety factor so that people are able to see in and out of those spaces, which are generally locked. Typically, the cement fiber products come with a factory finish, so it's a low maintenance type of product. I think it's superior to a vinyl type of product. So we tried to be sensitive to that. I do understand that there are still some requests for colors, and we'll work with the commission to dial in those colors. And if we need to get material samples, we're happy to do that as well. We did add some elements of a standing seam metal roof, which you can see on the shed dormers and as well on the gable dormers on the atrium components. The windows would typically be a vinyl or a composite frame window, and they would be typically they're factory finished, again low maintenance. The window trim packages on the wooden frame parts would typically be a AZAC or a PVC product, which if it stays white, then it's pre-finished, but typically that does get paint on it. But it's a stable material. It's I think fairly rot resistant, and is going to hold up longer than a lot of, especially faster growth wood products that we see now. We also brought some of the brick up on the front facade and the atrium areas, and added back in some brackets, which are really more ornamental, but you can see them here, and I think that helps. We think that helps tie the building into the vernacular that we're trying to meet. And those would be likely out of an AZAC material as well. Doors, windows, as far as the larger glazing sections, those are meant to be a more durable, high traffic type of product, whereas the private doors on the balconies would be more of a residential porch type of door. And then similar for the same type of materials for the retail component as well. We're trying to marry these all three buildings. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
If you need him to repeat any of that, just make sure he knows. It was it continued to record, you know, so anyone in cyberspace saw it.
Oh, did I get cut off?
No.
In the room, we had a little glitch, but you should have been gone.
Cyber attack.
Oh.
All right, well, if anyone has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
The settlement plan, which is exhibit A of the stipulated judgment, includes a residential development that is set back from the Berlin Turnpike, surrounded by natural habitat on two sides, that is targeted for a hiking trail by the town with access towards the pond. It is at the end of a cul-de-sac. We believe is an ideal situation for a housing development. Finally, the stipulation is clear that no further housing should be constructed on the property, so the commission revises its regulations to permit housing. And that's what Jen and I were talking about, because as of now, there will be no more housing. But if 50 years from now, this commission decides to revise its regulations to have a housing program, then there would be no such restriction permitted by that's what we were working on. And that would be this commission making that decision that we wanted additional housing. We thank you for your time and effort in this mediation process, and we're available to answer any questions or comments. Everybody here is available for answering any comments. We think it's a high quality, high standard development.
Coming back here. So, I just want to thank so much, Tim, and thanks Jeff very much, and Steve and Brian too for being on. But, I think maybe we should get better as well, and you think? Yeah, let's hear from our.
Let's go,
planner.
Mo.
All right, so I already told you that we got the comments from our town engineer. And one of my other comments was the fact that, which Attorney Sullivan mentioned, the sheltered bus stop area being added into the provisions for the, in the landscape and streetscape section. We, that was in my notes to get added into the stipulated judgment. In the document on page 5, under signage, it says the commission has reviewed the signage plan. I don't believe a signage plan was seen by the commission, so we'll just take that simple statement out that you reviewed the signage plan, but still, as is typical for any project generally that you see, the condition is that the signage come back under zoning review. I think that Attorney Sullivan did a really good job with some of the comparisons we did between the plans from the denied plan of 550, 554 to this plan. There is a decrease in the number of parking spaces. There's the, as you know, the curb cuts were relocated, as well as he mentioned, the bus shelter, the crosswalks and sidewalk changing. One of the things that I'll note specifically with regard to that sidewalk, that was a pretty significant topic, was that even in one of the plans in the middle, we saw the sidewalk from the units, from the residential units up towards the Berlin Turnpike was going to be on, I'll call it, if you're walking towards the turnpike from the residential units, it was on the right side. Crossed over, they moved it to cross over just before their driveway into ABC and then go up the left side. Now it's all the way up the left side of the driveway on the river side, so to speak. So I thought that was a positive improvement that reacted to one of your concerns. Again, the perimeter and landscape shoulder of the parking increased, and the additional buffer of and plantings shown along the back of the ABC building to separate the uses visually. we just wanted to note, and Alexa went tirelessly through the plans going back and forth, so I want to give her credit on on some of these comments. The 84 to 85 one-bedroom units went from 22 to 22 bedroom units, and from 106 to 105 for the total number. So I have those correct. I hope.
Yes, 2 bedrooms.
2 less 2-bedroom units is, and 1 less 1-bedroom unit. I think that's all I have in my notes right now, but probably have answers if you have other questions.
Yes, Tim.
Make sure you talk up so that the people on Zoom land can hear me. We don't have mics.
I do, ma'am. I'm just, looking at the comments with for, the rate as, not a fair traffic related concern to submit both the plan with 106 units. This is now 105 units. They had all our checkbox and everything else in the physical college. But now we have one.
That's actually.
Can Yeah, I'm sorry that,
This is
That's
the 9 stories. That's
So-
that's what I wanted to clear
Oh,
up.
as soon as we saw.
I wanted to clear
So-
up that this, on the date of this, and the date that it came out on Facebook, this was, the Facebook.
Oh,
oh, we weren't privy to that.
There.
So I do want to say that, so I saw these comments when I got back from vacation this week and went, wait, we had the comments from the previous application that was denied with no comment. So I did actually then investigate, found out they were the response to the routing of the plans for the 830G affordable housing applications, were the comments that came in today. However, we did put them together to distribute to you to see the transition of comments. And I did call Chief McNally, who was going to try to join this meeting. I'm thinking he's probably in another meeting tonight. But he did confirm that these comments are with regard to the 158 units and the height of the buildings, and the bulk of those were the main focus of his concerns, particularly with regard to public safety, and access and ability for them to manage, and have the training to go in a building of that height if needed, or to isolate incidents in a building of that height. And that he sticks to his comments on the 106 units for a proposal of 105. And again, I thought he intended to try to join to clear any of that up.
But Jim had I think I'll see if the public. Yeah, it's just a question on the time frame, completion. I'm assuming 5 years is approved through the applicant as well as our attorney, and I just wanted some understanding.
That's statutory.
Statutory, okay.
So site plans have 5 years to be, to be developed. Then there's the extension time that an applicant can request according to statutory timelines, so that plans or projects don't hang out there forever. You may recall, and maybe not all of you have seen them, but you did have to re-approve a couple of plans that hit their end, and the applicants came back.
All right, anyone else maybe from the public wants to address the question regarding this idea? Or this proposal? Commissioners, any more questions or can you clarify? Yes, sir.
Some other things that, that we, in our, what we've been doing, constantly now, with all conditions in our maps, with file, and I just would like to see that some of the general outline of the materials that go into this and stuff like that, you know, that we would like the hardy board with a type of board, and I would just love to make sure that those notes are included on the plan of materials that we approve. If we talk about something,
Yeah.
and other thing like that, that those comments and are included on that.
We can add a paragraph to the stipulation as well,
Yes, which is gonna be found on a land record.
to enunciate that.
So either way, it's followed on the map of.
Found on land record.
You know, just if it is, I found too many projects when they're built, they find out they did that make the.
Yes, go ahead on. I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time to even bring this up or if it's even a concern, but the ABC building that's there now, that's the same owner that's buying this property for the house. And, I'm thinking about the lighting that's around the ABC building in the lumberyard right now. And I don't know how high that is. Is it gonna have an effect on the housing that's gonna be back there? That may not be a point to bring up right now, but it's something that I was thinking about. No, lighting is a consideration.
Yeah, and, I'm not sure how it was addressed, but, you know, we will certainly work with the district planner to make sure that the lighting is directed away from the housing. There's no reason for the lighting to be directed at the housing. Because the buildings are obviously in the front, but we will certainly work with the commission and with the town planner on any lighting issue involving the ABC property. We're making a substantial investment in the ABC property, the answer and other things, decorative fencing, steel fencing. We can certainly look at the lighting as well, to screen that if necessary, or we're working with a local berm and some trees. That was the extensive landscaping we did to sharpen that as well. We would certainly work with Marty.
Thank you. Anyone else before I dig in? Okay, let me have some fun. All right, let me, it's just because I'm not a lawyer, although I pretend to be both sides. Let me just go over a couple of things that I thought I just wanted to tighten up legally, all right? On page number 5, you talked about permitted and the uses. And you said something sort of interesting. You said that, the parties didn't have to agree on no additional housing. And then we talked about an authority being able to adjust that. I guess I'm a little grieved out on the idea of an authority. So I guess I just need to know who would make the designation if more housing was needed instead of ABC or commercial. So, I mean, I don't, you hear all sorts of rumblings about where we're going with different things. And I just want to make sure that the authority to release a building from being commercial to turning into housing would rest with the authority of the town and not of a Hartford value or a state value. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think so.
Okay,
What we're
good.
talking about is a change in, what I was concerned about was a change in regulations.
Yeah.
For instance, if the town decided 20 years from now to make one of these parcels a high-density housing area for whatever reason as a permitted use, then that would be you wouldn't want this commission to be handcuffed by a restriction when they change the direction they want to go on this path.
Yes,
So that's what we want to address.
so
That's what
the
we're
authority
talking about.
rests with this commission or with a land use
Agency, yeah.
or agency, because 30 years from now, I don't know where any of us are going. Well, I'm not going nowhere before I'm young man.
Which in the days is most likely.
All right, so
It does say town of Berlin agency with authority.
okay,
Yeah, I wrote it down.
all right.
And Jen and I can work on that language.
Yeah. So, kind of change structure. As far as what the land use agencies and municipality. And, that kind of was the thinking. I mean, we could put in zoning commission and just assume that, such a commission would control use in perpetuity. It's just that we just don't want that.
Yeah, I wanna make sure that, if there was a regional commission, that it wouldn't have,
So, which,
it would be a local decision.
yeah, I think it's, yeah. We could put town of Berlin, local agency, municipal agency.
Jen, we can work on that later.
Yeah, just as long as we're all in agreement that it would stay with the local.
That's what we're,
That would be-
direction.
Yeah.
That's-
And I just want to jump ahead and I want to talk about the chief, the chief's comments, because, you know, we looked at the building, we looked at landscaping and lighting, all this other stuff. But I never quite understood the entrance way to this building, to this complex. So I want to just ask you, using the ABC driveway, right, as an entrance to the building complex, is that correct?
Well, not really. It's not the ABC driveway.
Well-
Everybody calls it the ABC driveway.
Well,
because that's the only development on the site of this building. But it's a common driveway. It's a common access way. And we're changing the setup of it. Steve could speak more to this. We're making it safe. The entranceway is being more controlled. It's not just in and out now or whatever. Steve, I don't know if you can share your screen, if you want to show that. Show where we're changing the nature of the driveway.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll scroll down. If you give me 1 second, we'll try and zoom in on this a little bit. So if you can see my mouse, the original driveway for the ABC has this Y-shaped scenario where the vehicles come in this way, go into the ABC piece, and then they exit in this vicinity, in this location. This isn't really a desirable situation. So the idea was to consolidate this entrance with our new proposed entrance. So now ABC and our site and would be accessed through this location, and then they would exit in this location. More of a perpendicular scenario to the Berlin Turnpike as a safer scenario. And then the driveway comes down. It's a shared driveway, and it's crosses properties. It's partially on ABC and partially on the rear property. But what we did is we widened this area in through here to 30 feet width of pavement, and then our ABC would now be accessed at this location opposite their yard. It's again a better scenario. And then any visitors and employees would park in the parking lot. We are proposing to add a few parking spaces to that parking lot and restripe the handicap spaces as well. And then the parking lot reduces, or the driveway reduces down to 24 feet, which is standard for two-way driveways in this type of scenario through the site. As mentioned earlier, we did move the sidewalk to the west side. I believe that's west, or is that north? Let me see.
North side.
North side, sorry. Usually we try to keep our north arrows up, but on this site we had to rotate it. But that pretty much covers that. We also have access to the site to the north as well through this area. There's a one-way in here and two-way travel through our one common curb cut on the turnpike.
And then Steve, the access, the existing driveway into ABC will be abandoned.
Yes, this will all be abandoned, be loamed and seeded with grass.
Okay, so when you're coming down the new driveway, and if I worked at ABC, where would I turn off to go to that parking?
Right there.
Right in this location, right in this location here.
Okay, now, the land from the parking spaces belonging to ABC and the new drive,
Mhm.
will that be a treed or landscaped area?
We do have proposed street trees along the drive entrance. And then there's an existing landscaped island here, an existing landscape that would remain.
Okay, good, so you can maybe add on to that a little bit, sort of dial that out.
Yeah, we talked about through the stipulation enhancing the landscape.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when you come down the drive, where the turnoff is at the ABC building to go into the parking lot. All right, how much further is it before you get to the parking lot of the first building or the nearest building?
What's the
Uh,
scale?
Yeah,
It's a very short run all the way from the Berlin Turnpike. It isn't that long of an exit.
Yeah. Well, see,
yeah, this is a 60 scale drawing. It's a little hard to scale, but I would say I'd say it's about 125 to 150 feet from the ABC turnoff into this area here.
all right, well, my thought process being to make that point where you leave the ABC area to the housing area, somehow a differentiate between the business and the housing. My first thought was perhaps you could split that off and make it a boulevard going into the housing complex with the center aisle landscaped and treed. And it's like, I don't know if that's gonna be, it's only 120 feet, but it might be worth it to make that now the official way of entering the housing area, as opposed to, just going behind the back of the building to your building.
I think we could put up some signage right after the ABC driveway, but the actual width of the driveway is very narrow there. And we really
Yeah,
have room to expand, the width of the driveway to put a median in the driveway.
It would create wetland impacts. We'd have to fill wetlands I think, to do it. I think, or maybe some, like some pillars at the beginning of it.
That's probably a good idea, is to have sort of stone pillars capped off
Yeah.
white or whatever, with maybe the neighborhood development.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
so
put the
wall
name on
up
them.
And have it go down, tether it down. And this way, at least they get the idea that they're entering a housing complex and leaving,
More than an idea,
commercial.
signal you are entering. Yeah.
Well,
Good
that's
idea.
it. And
Yeah.
it's sort of like, and if you're not meant to be, there, you're like, oops, I went the wrong way, they better turn around,
Yeah.
because the guards gonna know. So, but that's another thing that I kind of like to look at. We talked about, the maintenance of the property on 6, number 5. And I know that, Maureen was suggesting that you should take care of the shrubs and the brushes and the trees. One thing I want to make sure you note on the plan that any kind of brush, clippings, anything cannot be just disposed of or pushed off into the wetlands or the surrounding property or area. So I think that should be noted, it has to be removed off site to the best of your ability. What else do I have to talk about? And I think that's pretty much it. I have a water feature. It was kind of missing from my, yeah, the amenities, the water feature.
It's on the plan.
It's on the plan. Well, I just wanted to make sure that,
Yes.
and I want to make sure there were 2, I saw on the building 1 and 2 that there were atriums in both buildings,
Yeah.
but when I'm not a lawyer, so I just quickly breezed through this and I saw it was denoted as an atrium in building 1, but I wanted to make sure it was actually going to be a function.
Yeah, well, we can show you, Jeff could bring up and show you exactly. what
Yeah,
it
it's on the plan.
It showed, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of.
Yeah.
H. Yeah,
Yeah, last one. There's a community.
yeah.
Jeff, is there an atrium in the building too?
And a water fountain.
There is, and I was away on vacation when the last meeting happened, and I normally review everything right up to the minute before we do a presentation. And it was brought to my attention that it was missing on building 2, the water feature. It will be added to building 2.
And maybe you can put a nice stone wall behind it, so it kind of, we're.
Sure, we can,
Yeah.
Make it pretty.
Actually, it will just handle it from anyway.
sure.
She would like a couple of coins. We're kidding, no point, no, okay. No, we don't have to, but the water feature, I think, would really help out.
Yeah, it made it into building 1 and somehow it didn't translate into building 2, but it's supposed to be there, so.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I mentioned it to Jeff, so.
Can I see the architecturals again? Just really quick. Yeah. I don't know who does the architecturals. I think there's,
That's the affordability. There we go.
you know, I was, unfortunately, I had to go to New York City last week. And as we took the train down, we went through a lot of fairly nice communities with housing and developments that were near the tracks. And of course, it's too late to take a picture because the train is going, but your eyes can focus on things. And as I had a chance to sort of look at the different architecturals, I noticed what a lot of the buildings are doing is instead of can I have the exterior? Yeah. Instead of the little windows framing, what they were doing was clumping the windows together in the apartment. So that instead of having like one double hung here, one double hung there, they were pushing them together, and putting 2 and 3 double hungs together. So it didn't look like, lights on the Titanic. It looked like windows in a house.
And
And
that's,
I don't know how your floor plans are. But they broke it up. Some of them had 3 windows together and some had 2, but it really made a difference in how, and the appearance, and somehow they looked bigger to me. I don't know.
these are windows that are ganged, or mulled together. So for example, this is basically a group of 3, 2 windows and a door. This is a group of 2 windows. And if you look at the plan, I just need to go in the right direction here, sorry. Oops,
It was just something that I noticed, and it just really changed the appearance of the building, no matter how big the building was.
right.
That change up, throwing it in there. And not having a pattern set to it really kind of made a difference.
So these are in 2s and 3s. Not all the units have balconies.
Yeah,
That would be a group of 2. These are fairly large windows.
maybe the rendering's not catching it, I don't know. And the last comment I have is that, we had talked with Attorney Sullivan, we talked about colors.
Yeah.
And we talked about getting some samplings of the material that would be used as a siding. Is that still, that's still part of the process?
Yes.
Oh,
That's the
excellent.
plan around that, to choosing the color that the town desired.
Yeah, okay.
More of a muted environmental color than we saw last time. Oh, red, bold red.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Jeff, did you hear that? The
Yes,
commission would like to see samples, please. So
Yep.
if you could maybe send some to Tim to deliver to town hall so they can look. Thank you.
yeah, we'll get some samples, absolutely.
Yeah. Arjun, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I just wanted to add my comment on those two.
Yeah.
They look appropriately spaced in the living spaces. I don't know that we can bring them together any closer, but then if it's like one single bedroom apartment next to another, if you bring the windows together, then you're sharing sound space with the windows open at night. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. I was just trying to figure out something. And like I said, as in my travels, I was trying to think of what's making this building look attractive. What can be done architecturally to enhance it? Not that you guys didn't create a nice building, it's just, I get a little fussy sometimes.
the windows look appropriate inside, and then maybe you can't make the exterior change too much.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, and Tim,
Just the one housekeeping. This, staff comment sheet that we have here, is, February 2nd, 22. And I would like the staff comment sheet that's up to date to today's plan. That can be attached to the.
So as a stipulation plan, it wasn't routed around because obviously until this past week, it's been a confidential plan. So we did substantially rely on the ones that have come in over time, and that's why I kind of showed you what came in based on the size and bulk of the buildings. I'm sure we can, if there's time allotted, we can send them for other comments.
It's just because, the items on here have been mostly addressed over the time, so half of these items probably.
Yeah,
So
so-
too, those were the comments on the withdrawn, going back to that.
Yeah.
Right.
That was
Yeah,
the withdrawn,
right.
I remember that withdrawn.
Yeah, we actually ended up pulling inadvertently the withdrawn set instead of the denied set initially. I think the comments from the denied plan also were included, I hope. If not, I probably made a copy and didn't get it to you. This was all done this afternoon, so as far as those comments went, because I was trying to get the progression of the comments from the police department was what I was trying to rectify, and we were making the comments and searching for old comments as we went through that. And trying to make sure in the comparison that Alexa was working on as well, that comments that were raised early on that maybe were resolved, that you could see that they either, whether or not they remained resolved or had been overlooked. So it was kind of this, okay, let's find out the old information to see that something that was raised a long time ago wasn't forgotten 2 years later.
It's just the, plan has modified the road width and the size of the lot, everything else, and the entrance house done into the development. So that's comments you see here. So, it's just to review it basically, and we're still talking about the acceleration and deceleration lane on the turnpike, right?
Yes, that's still there.
Okay, well, that's a state thing anyway,
Yes.
but, we're asking the state for that.
Correct.
Mike?
Yeah, so I just had a concern based on the driveway access. So we were, is it correct under the assumption that it's gonna be used for commercial and residential, that one path? With
Yes.
ABC and residential. So I just wanted to be sure, because you said it was only the 120-foot gap between ABC and residential. I need to know if there's some way to mitigate crashes from commercial vehicles. coming
It's
out of
gonna be
ABC.
30 feet wide.
Yeah.
Which is a town road, so anytime you drive down a town road, you get commercial and residential traffic going in different directions. So that's the purpose that we put it at 30 feet, so that it would allow safe traffic down to the residential portion. And we'll put the 2 pillars up, and that's means to reduce to just a residential driveway after the ABC commercial property.
Yeah, I'm more talking about the intersection going out. So if you're a commercial truck coming out, trying to pull out of to get access to the turnpike, there could be blind spots and people flying down the road coming from the residential spots. So just maybe if there's speed bumps or something that will
We did
prevent,
install speed bumps. There are speed bumps on the plan.
so there is something to mitigate the
Yes.
intersection.
Yes.
I think that's about it.
Okay.
All right. Very good. All right, so what's our next step here?
So if you feel like you would like to take action on this tonight, then, we can call for a motion, Madam Chair. And proceed. You already called for public comment and there was no response. Do you have one for the public present?
Would you like to say something? Now's the time to address the commission with your name and address.
When I came here, I was under the impression it was gonna be 9 stories. And then the attorney was informed it was not. I'm delighted The only thing I'm wondering if the road's gonna be narrowed down, and then you mentioned, you know, what if people come down and then they realize, oh, they're in this development, now they gotta do like a K-turn before they go into the development? Or is it gonna be widened out so you can, because I very often take the wrong turns and I'm doing a circle and I don't wanna hit the curb
Yeah.
and, you know, so it, you know.
It's gonna, if you put the plan up, you're gonna see there's gonna be an access way in. And if you get into the residential, you realize you got the wrong apartment complex.
You don't have to drive into the
There's,
residential
no,
complex.
there's a circle that will allow you to turn back out
Yeah.
after you buy the building.
Yeah.
No, K-turn.
Otherwise, people are gonna be going in and out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and just for the record, could I have your name and address, just so that, you know, Lori Biden, 242 Weathersfield Road. Okay, thank you. Okay. And you got your answer, right? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
For the record, I will just say, and it'll be difficult to pull it up right now, but I did get an email that was voiced concerns about the 9-story buildings and wanted to know when the hearing was, et cetera. We explained the process and that this was 3 to 4 stories, and he rescinded the comments he made saying 3 and 4 was would be reasonable. And that was a public comment. I'll try to pull it up so I can tell you who, but you'll see everything I have on the screen, and I really use.
Kind of brings me
Um,
around, you know, I know we live in a social media environment, but honestly, I wish that folks that wanted answers, questions, or wanted more information would contact the real people who have the answers and not just fly off on social media. That is one reason, I'll be honest with you, I have abandoned it. I don't want any part of it. Because if you can't address me as a commissioner, if you can't ask your questions to somebody who's in the know, then they're not questions to be asked. And for people to go off and say things just willy-nilly, I find it very hurtful and harmful. It doesn't do anyone involved. But that's my little rant about social media. All right, so, and going back to it, that's why things were exploding, because somebody went out there and said something. No, they even had the wrong pictures up and
Where you don't talk.
it was off, and it was laughable. It really was. We made fools.
So one of the great things about this town that I love is that you kept the hybrid meeting after COVID, and you are one of the few towns that has done that.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that you have a YouTube channel, where you can go and you can watch all your meetings, and they are of good quality. You know, so people can be informed. There's
Yeah.
opportunity that exists in this town that doesn't exist in other towns. And so, yeah, as your counsel, you know, I do cringe because I do see things, you know, wrong with the paper and whatnot. And we do try to correct that misinformation, because that's what it is, it's misinformation. And there are a lot of opportunities to get good information because you can have good staff.
Yeah.
And a full staff now.
Exactly. With that,
And they do post it within a couple of days at most, usually it's very, very quick.
Are you,
turnaround.
the YouTube videos, yeah.
Yeah.
We're working towards posting plans as they come in, but that's gonna be a road for a while due to file sizes.
we're doing the best we can. No, anyway, let's see how the commission feels about this. Do we need to close the discussion and then do it? As a public hearing?
So that's fine, and, you know, a motion is not necessarily going to practice to just close the public portion and go into the resolution.
That was what I.
That's fine. I do want to note that I do make the recommendation that John be the alternate, that's it, because Mike has not participated. And so I think that that's most appropriate.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I just want to make that recommendation.
Okay. So do we have a motion to close?
So move to close the public hearing.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. So Mr. Zuma has the motion, Ms. Dorsey has a second for the discussion. And all those in favor? Those against, so moved.
Minutes to note that John's here at the old meeting, and he's seated.
Yeah.
I should have been, meant to say that to again.
Thank you,
Okay.
Commissioner Sigmund.
All right,
Appreciate
there you
that
go.
for the record.
Thanks.
Oh,
And I just, I don't take offense that I've been asked to leave.
Oh, no.
You're actually not.
No,
Close meeting.
no,
No.
I'm just deliberation.
I'm. All right, it's fun, you take care.
On your app.
Good night. Don't get blown away by the wind.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, we'll see.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say,
So deliberate, let's deliberate, what do you think?
My comments is I think this development drastically better than what we personally thought. You can ask 160. Improvement with the age and the
Waterfall.
widening of the road, for going in and stuff like that. The sidewalk going in the opposite side of the road, it's all been improvements. And I gotta praise the developer for doing those improvements, because they are, to me, they're up behind, above than what the normal project would be. You know, I think there's been that much improvement that I don't see a problem with it right now, because the only thing I have, to make sure everything's a bit correct.
Does that mean it's not the wall factor point?
We got the waterfall back, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The waterfall, the wow. Okay, anyone else have to?
I would like to thank the town planner and the attorney and the applicant of working together.
Yeah.
Adding to what Tim had said, I appreciate the safety features that have been added. That's a concern for me, always been.
Just
Thinking of
concerned
the
about
future, right, and then also the 50-year extent or 50-year acceptance. et
Sure,
cetera.
we can't get that to 60.
But I appreciate the flexibility and the willingness to come together. I want to say thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So what's the consensus? Do you go ahead with the stipulation or, well, I can make a motion. Really? Oh, thanks.
I would just ask as a council again, to provide staff, and this is with the authority of the commission to make any necessary revisions that are needed in the stipulation. There are a number of things we wrote down that we wanted in terms of additions, and, we always do check those again. This is really meant to be a working meeting. I've found with the years, there's always more that we can talk about and fine tune. So just ask that be included in the motion. To approve. Thank you.
Okay, so, I will make a motion that we move forward, with, the stipulation for judgment. With the understanding that staff and council have authority to make amendments or changes, to the stipulation based on, comments and input from the commission and, as appropriate for completion of this.
Authorizing the council to sign stipulation and everything is finalized.
And that we authorize council to sign the stipulation when everything is authorized. So we get to see the colors.
See her real signature. Or lawyers.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have further discussion? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
So that was a unanimous vote.
So, yeah.
Thank you. I can't see your mouse.
thank you for your time tonight.
No problem. And the hour is 7 what? 7:40.
Maybe the storm is past.
So, yeah, really, oh, my car's still there. And so I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. So moved. Diane Dorsey has a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Zigma for the discussion. All in favor? Aye. So moved. And it's 7:46.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Many executive sessions, we need more as well. Helps us.